listening to
Split the Defense,
a Toronto Maple Leafs, Colorado Avalanche, and NHL podcast. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the Defense
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.
What up, what up? Welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. I'm Webby. I'm with CP and producer Ted, as usual, and we are welcoming listeners in the greater Kingston area as we broadcast from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. We are going to do a full show. We kind of kicked it into Leafs post-game mode there for a little while. We haven't done a full show in 2 weeks or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a swing change, going from 2 shows a week about everything to no shows a week about everything else. So we got some things to talk about. We're basically going to keep it Canadian tonight, boys. There's not really much going out besides that, and I thought, why not? Because that's probably the best for our viewer base. So Ted, do you want to take us away with the Leafs, or do you want me to get us through this?
Get us started, and I'll get us moving along.
Okay. So Matty's back. Austin Matthews was out sick. We've had multiple players out sick. Brody was out sick, and Brody went to practice, and he didn't make it through all practice and didn't go back for the full activities. Excuse me. He is hopeful to be back Tuesday. Matthews is definitely going to be back. You have to wonder, of all the people, so it's been Lagesson so far, Samsonov's been sick, Brody and Matthews. Who else is going to be next? Has Willie been sick yet? Has he already got this thing? Are we going to lose Mitch? Guys are just going to keep going down. It's going to be a short lineup for a couple of weeks here, don't you think?
Yeah, listening to Keefe today, he seemed like he wasn't too worried about it, and there weren't anyone with any new symptoms or anything. It was actually the roster freeze is happening soon, right? And the question was, are you worried about the roster freeze and you might lose guys? And he was like, I hadn't thought about it actually until now. So I was like, well, that might have been something you should have thought about, but yeah, I don't know. No one's got it yet, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think could still get it, unless there's been remember that one game where they said that most of the team was basically feeling it. So I wonder if a lot of guys have gotten it and just it hasn't been so bad. Whereas Brody apparently had it really bad, and he only was able to eat his first meal today before practice, and that's why he actually left, just based on he just didn't have enough fuel in the tank, right? So yeah, hopefully the worst is behind us though.
Yeah,
definitely. So we're playing New York again on Tuesday. Excuse me. I got COVID on the weekend, by the way, so I'm still recovering from that. And I was fine in the pre-chat, and all of a sudden I'm all worked up. But we got New York. We got the New York Rangers, and the last time that we played them, we beat the pants off of them. I can't even remember what the score was, 5-2 or something like that. But beat the pants off of them. Do you think this is going to be a revenge game for New York? Do you think they're going to come on a little stronger against Toronto here, CP?
Yeah, I think that's inevitable, just based on it wasn't that long ago we played. Regardless of how it went, basically, I think if you play a team in close succession, that's what kind of creates rivalries, I think. I kind of like it when you see someone's name on the schedule. If we're playing Columbus 3 times this month, Toronto is. I wish it wasn't Columbus, but I do like seeing that, because every time the next one gets a little more exciting, especially if you split the games or whatever it is. So I think it's inevitable. They'll bring a little extra than normal.
Yeah, you always hope in those games that something crazy happens in the first one, so that way the next 2 are very exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Remember the Canadian division? Things got a little spicy at times. That's what I think created the Winnipeg rivalry. Is just because you played all the Canadian teams so much that it's just so weird. I kind of forgot about that until I just thought of it. But yeah, so weird when you play a lot of teams quickly. It doesn't happen often.
That's where the Winnipeg rivalry was formed with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right there was the Canadian division.
Sure.
They played them so many times. I remember playing teams. It was what did they play them like 15 times each or like 13 times? It was crazy. Like,
It was ridiculous.
it was an intense amount of times, and that created rivalries for sure. So you're right. It is fun playing back to back to back. Columbus is going to be a fun one because that was a fun game, right? I'd like to see how the next two games go with Columbus and Toronto. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Leafs will be bringing a little extra for that one instead of the Rangers, right? But
They might try and shut things down a little better.
yeah, I want a low-scoring affair, preferably.
Yeah.
So
Totally agree.
yeah, for sure though.
So who's in net coming up here against the Rangers? Does Samsonov get the net back, or do we got Jones, Marty Jones? Is he stepping back in?
I think you give it back to Sammy. I think that we're going to roll 50-50. Like, Martin Jones is never going to be a goalie that's going to be your starter, right? So you don't want to just snatch it from Samsonov. So I think you just keep going 50-50 unless things become, like, unmanageable.
Yeah, Marty Jones is like it's like the axe or like the hose. You smash in case of emergency and you take it.
Right, yeah.
Because like you can use him. He's totally useful.
For sure.
It's just only in an emergency. You don't want to put that as your number one option. I totally agree. But it is kind of in case of emergency season right now for the Leafs. And Samsonov's not exactly been great. I don't know. So you think Samsonov's going to get another shot in there for against the Rangers?
Yeah, well, I was also going to say, like, thinking about the Columbus game, like, if he lets 5 in, he better be pulled before that chance, right? If he lets in 2 quickly, pull him. So, I don't want to see them doing this. He's working through it. I know that he actually, from that point forward, didn't let a goal in the third period, but I don't want him to get to 5.
Go work through it on a different team who's not trying to win the Stanley. Not on my team.
Right.
Don't work through it here.
No.
You're working through it. No, we need somebody solid, like working through. No, you're either good or get out of here.
3 goals max.
Nuts.
I don't want to see him any more than 3. Then he better be pulled out of there.
Yeah, working through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know they keep saying that. Like, that was the thing they said. Well, we really want to put him back into battle. And
Well, Sanford made Keefe leave him in, right? Remember?
I know.
Yeah.
Made, persuaded.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I think Keefe could have probably made the call in the end, but he's
I think
looking
he
back
should.
at Marty Jones and thinking like, well, is that much better? So he said he was glad he did in the end. They did battle back and get to overtime, but then they lost in overtime. We already had this conversation.
For sure. Yeah.
Anyways, last thing I want to do in the Leafs before we go north of the blue line and talk the rest of the league is, who do you think has been the most underrated Leaf this season? I want to start with you, Ted.
I always find this question underrated as a tough question because I always find my answer falls on guys who are doing really well, but like people don't seem to be recognizing that they're doing so. Yeah, no, and exactly. Like nothing like that either. I don't know. My mind has a few answers here. First of all, I think a guy that should be seen as even bigger and better than he is right now, because we've seen it, I've heard you say it, Webby, many times, is that he's right up there as potentially one of the greatest players in the NHL at times. But you don't hear it get said other than on this podcast, is Willie. I think he's incredible, and people are like, he's good. And they're like, no, he's great. He's not good, he's great.
Right. This is like our salary conversation. Like, I'm arguing he's good, like $10 million, and Webby thinks he's amazing at $13 million.
I would pay 13.
I know, I'm exaggerating. Yeah.
12. Maybe,
yeah, 12
in the open market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, what about you, CP?
I mean, I think that before today, my answer was a little more valid, but he's gotten a lot of attention today because of the Gordie Howe hat trick on the weekend. But Matthew Nyes, I think, is a guy who people kind of forget that this guy's a rookie. I know that he played last year, but this is a rookie coming into the air, and he's playing in a power forward position, which isn't easy for a guy coming in. Like you see a lot of guys that come off drafted that try and do that at a young age, and normally it's not until they're 24, 25 that they can actually implement that style. But I know he hasn't been jumping off the charts. He's not chasing down the rookie scoring lead, but it's a bit more than that. And I think everyone is a little bit more aware of it now because he got in a fight on the weekend, right? And building towards that throughout the last couple weeks, where he's just I forget who was saying it, but like I heard it today that someone said that he's maybe just recognizing that he's still big in the NHL. It's not just a college thing. Like he actually in the NHL is still a guy that can push people around. So I think that he's learning that, and by the end of the season, like this might be a guy that we're really happy that we held on to, because there was a few times where Matthew Nyes would be, playing on another team. I forget the teams, the Pittsburgh Penguins potentially, or somewhere. And I'm just so glad that he's coming into his own here, because just the player that this team is just craving and missing.
That was going to be my other answer, and I'm glad I went with the other one, so you could say that so succinctly and well. Thank you, CP. What was your answer going to be, Webby? Who's your most underrated Leaf this season?
I think it's Calle Yarncroke.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
the Iron Hook.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's because we all are just... He was a big topic. We all talked about him. And then we just kind of... he puts him everywhere. And he wasn't Alex Kerfoot. He actually is pretty good everywhere. So then we just started, accepting it. Oh, Kerfoot's in the top 6. Nobody makes a big deal of it. Kerfoot's back in the bottom 6. Or, Yarncroke's back in the bottom 6. Nobody makes a big deal of it. If you have this guy and you can play him anywhere and you're never talking about him and he's still out there scoring goals in clutch moments, playing with everybody, I think Calle Yarncroke isn't getting enough love for what he's able to do. Penalty kill, he's defensively sound. He can play with the good players. He can play down on the third line. At moments he's shined on lots of lines, and I really love the guy's shot.
That was a really Sheldon Keefe type answer. The Swiss Army knife is the most underrated, and you're right, to be honest, because how many situations can you plug that guy into? He's just a way better version of Flex Seal Alex Kerfoot. And
yeah,
he's
a better version. And we're all
he makes less.
That's fine. Now we
better.
just forgot about him. Yeah. We just forgot. When I said that, you guys are like, oh, because he literally is. We're all like, oh yeah, Calle Yarncroke isn't bad.
No,
he's pretty good.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He is.
He serves such a good role too, and in a pinch can play center. So I think great answer.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he's been underrated for sure. All right, well, now we're officially out of that. Why don't we flip into North of the Blue Line?
North of the Blue Line.
All right, so the biggest news, boys, that we all want to talk about that just happened. The Sens fired DJ Smith. Sens franchise leader and games coach Jacques Martin takes over as interim coach. Daniel Alfredsson added to the bench as an assistant coach, like we saw in the Global Series in Sweden. They also fired their assistant coach Davis Payne, and that's why they had room to put Alfredsson as well in there. The crazy thing, boys, is that DJ Smith ran practice this morning.
Whoa.
And then walked out and they fired him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a media availability too. That's a weird move. I can't believe it, to be honest. That was it a decision made right before it happened? Because otherwise it just seems like a drop of the ball. I don't know. What do you think?
It's weird because what do you if they knew at a time when all the players had shown up and got you can't tell your guys, what are they going to do? Go out on the ice with no one?
I guess actually. I never thought about that part.
But then maybe they did
Jacques
decide
Martin's
after.
already there.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah, that's
Just
right.
let
If he's
him
going to
run
do
the
interim
practice.
coaching, yeah, that's
But
right.
maybe let the players take in the information before they're just show up to the rink and it's a new coach there. At least they can take it in for 24 hours before they got to report to a different guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting from all perspectives.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Ottawa stinks. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Last in the conference and 12 points out of a wild card spot. Last in the conference means they have every team between them and a wild card spot. So they are in a tough position. You want to talk about bad timing? about firing the coach and the weird timing. Talk about a weird time in the season to fire him. Frank Saravelli had a tweet today. It says, fair to ask the question, if the Sens were going to pull the trigger now, why not do it 5 weeks ago when there was more runway to get back in the race? On November 10th, Sens had a 41% shot at the playoffs. Now, they're down to 11%. So, what a weird time to fire the coach. Like, the season's basically shot already. Even if they get a little bit of a new coach boost, they're done. Like, the season's over. I think this one you just fire away to see you later. Like, do they have a first-round pick? I hope to God they have a first-round pick.
So, okay, I have a wild theory, and I just you guys can tell me if I'm crazy or not. So, the new ownership wants to come in and not do anything crazy. They want things to settle down, right? Then let's fast forward through a lot, but then we go to Sweden, right? And Daniel Alfredsson wants to accepts kind of being behind the bench, right? It takes a few weeks for it to settle in for Daniel Alfredsson, and that's the guy that you want to be your future coach. And then you need time once that's the decision, is who do you want to be the mentor for this guy? And it's the guy that used to coach him and in the organization, who has a lot of games under his belt. And you can go about a season or maybe the rest of the season, that might be pushing it. But I'm going to say, yeah, by next season, you can give Alfredsson the reins. What do you guys?
That's a good point. The time has been getting these pieces to fall into place. And now that it has, it's like you've got kind of a sandbox here. Figure it out. We're not going to do it this season, but get behind the bench, get some, rapport with the guys, get some guidance from Martin. And
I wonder if they're using
that could be a cool theory. I don't know.
I wonder if they're using Martin as a scapegoat, because the team sucks this year, and if they were to just put Alfie in right away as the coach, and the team still sucked, then they might say, well, it's not working with Alfie. But if they let it run under Jacques Martin and wait until the team starts to take a turn, well, Alfie's pretty much got the reins as assistant coach. Then he can flip over into that for a PR move, right, to make him look better and be more accepted. Because that's been a big thing, right, is do you having the right guy. And if they suck, then that's pretty much going to be on Alfie's shoulders. So, again, as the assistant, he's also not locked into the head coach position yet, probably making a ton less money.
Right. There's also the scenario where maybe that Daniel Alfredsson is always an assistant coach. That it's a lot of pressure to coach your former team. And so maybe it's just he doesn't want to be a head coach. Maybe we'll have to see what he has to say. But yeah, I just it's maybe that they do just find a really good coach to be the head coach of this, and they just they're taking their time. But it's just funny timing that Danny Alfredsson was just behind the bench in Sweden. It's almost like a bit of an audition. And I wonder whose idea it was, And the fans are in a hurry for results, but this is new ownership, right? They're just settling into this team. So they're not in any hurry to make any drastic decisions 5 weeks ago to save the season. To them, it's new. So they're losing in their first season, not in, a bunch of seasons back to back.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a fair look at it. Alfredsson was brought in specifically to work on the power play. Apparently he's taken over that role.
Probably a good guy for that.
They're not good on the power play. They're 17.76%, and I thought that was wild. They have a whole bunch of teams underneath them, like Winnipeg, Minnesota, Montreal, Columbus, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Calgary, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Washington, and St. Louis. So what's that, 11 teams, 10 or 11 teams? They're not even that bad. I mean, and apparently you don't have to have a great power play because Colorado is only 2 teams ahead of them at 20.51%, and they're one of the best teams in the league. So, that's not even the problem. But, I mean, at this point, you're grasping for straws. You want to win any way you can, and if you can get a little bit better in any area, absolutely you want to take it, and maybe that's what the Sens need is a better power play to win more of these games. I don't know at this point, but, 17% I know isn't going to be good enough ever.
No. And if you look at the guys there, they have like a pretty good like differentiating archetypes of players that they should be able to like set up a pretty good power play. At least a unit one that does better than 17.
Yeah. So not so times over in Ottawa.
Yeah.
New coach. I think Steve Dangle had an idea who they might actually replace Jacques Martin with some other coach. So I'm not sure about the whole Alfredson coming in right away. I wonder how all this plays out because there's definitely going to be somebody else that comes in. I think before Alfredson or before, like what's going to happen with Martin? He's not going to stay there for anything longer than the rest of the season. You've got to know that.
Right.
Yeah, like he's potentially like coming out of retirement slightly here to do this where
He's 71.
Yeah. Probably not
transition.
like looking for a second career here.
So, like, if Alfie's not ready at the end of the season, there's going to be another guy, right? It's because, like, you don't know, do you want to throw him in right away? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the Calgary Flames, they are in a weird spot. They're fourth place in the Pacific right now.
Which is
They're
crazy.
4-4-2 in their last 10. So, like, the definition of mid in their last 10.
Yeah.
Naz is the leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
And they're sort of leading point getter. I think probably goal scorer too. He's got 22 points. That's sad.
Yeah.
And
So-
that's their leading.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not good at all.
Good for Kadri, not good for a team leader.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Like everybody on that team is so low scoring and minuses, and like everybody on that team looks bad. Huberdeau's a minus 14.
Man.
Yeah, that guy's lost.
Yeah, what's happening there?
It's like it's hard to imagine that this guy was a 100-point player. You know,
I
like,
know.
That's unbelievable that you can take such a drastic turn in just a team change. I get that he was feuding with the coach last year, but you know,
Why
new
now?
coach. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a stumper.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Lindholm, he's apparently going to be on the trade market, which we will talk about a little bit further ahead here. Lindholm, he's got 7 goals, 13 assists, 20 points right now. And he's really not given himself any back to get a bigger contract than, I don't know, $7 million at this point. Like, what would you pay? He was looking at last year, you think you might pay the guy 10 or 11, but I don't think you're going to pay him that much at this point. Not with these point totals and this kind of play that he's been playing. I think he's an even player, but still.
Yeah, I'd definitely give him more than 7. But we're not going over 10, that's for sure. Because this seems to be, he's as good as the players that he plays with. Like, he did amazing with Tkachuk and Goudreau. But, yeah, it's if the guys on his line aren't clicking, he's not driving a line. But he will be defensive responsible, and one of the best in the league at that. So I feel like that's worth a lot. And if you can put him with good players, then, I mean, he can be successful somewhere.
That's the thing is like this can't totally ruin like I don't know about Huberdeau, but this can't like totally ruin people's careers. This has been a bit, a bad thing, and as you said, feuding with the coach, and that's over with now. But yeah, it may take a little bit off the top, but I don't think it's going to completely drain these players' careers who do have good value. I think.
Yeah. Luckily, Huberdeau has gotten his money. He's got his huge contract.
He's got his
locked
exactly.
in for life. Yeah,
Exactly.
so and that might be part of this.
I read a tweet, and it had numbers backing it, and it showed that there was a narrative that Lindholm was one of the best defensive in the league when he played with Tkachuk and Goudreau. Once he didn't play with those guys anymore, those numbers became very pedestrian. They're not bad.
All the
but
results
they're
have been
just
pedestrian.
Yeah.
And ever since those guys have left, he hasn't been. So, I mean, was it those guys helping him carry that? Because that line was a super line that year, remember? So that's where I'm wondering, like, how much is Elias Lindholm hurting himself with this play? Anyways, Noah Hannafin, 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points. He's even. He'd be a nice addition to the Toronto Maple Leafs, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I said this a few weeks ago. I wish he shot right. If he was a right shot, I would lock it in. This is the guy I want. But because he's left shot, it's just we need a right shot. I'm gonna say that he's not the guy for us. But he's going to be a great trade piece for someone
I don't
because
know.
he's a good player. Two-way guy.
McCabe played pretty well on the right side the other night, and Hannafin playing the left, McCabe on the right. If we could figure that out, McCabe is a lot of points. Sorry, Hannafin's had a lot of points for a defenseman. If the rest of the team, like 22 is the leader in Nazem Kadri, 20 points is the second place in Lindholm, and I'm not even sure who's between Hannafin, but he's got 16. Like
Yeah, that's fair.
he's like third or fourth maybe on the team in points. That's a guy that I just find a place. You play here now because Hannafin plays there.
I mean, I don't want to make it all about the Leafs, but I'm just sick of the Leafs having so many left shots. Like, we need some right shots that can play in the top four.
Yeah, they're expensive and hard to find.
Yeah.
So Markstrom's back. Tanev's back. They were both on the ice for the team's morning skate Saturday. Huska said both players could be ready to go as soon as Monday when the Flames take on Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers. Markstrom, 33, had a fractured finger. He's still technically on LTIR. He's got an .896 save percentage this year, 2.94 goals against average. We thought, Dustin Wolf's going to come in and steal this. And in 5 games, he's got 1 win, a 3.46 goals against average, and .893 save percentage. Not a great start for the kid.
No.
Yeah. I think it's
playing
based on
behind a rough team, but yeah.
Well, where's the rough part? If it's not his fault, and it's not his fault, and it's not... Whose fault is it, and where's the fault lie in this team?
I'd say it's the defensemen and forwards seem to be the problem for the goals, because if all of your goalies seem to be underperforming, then I always say that that tells you that it's not the goalies.
But listen, it can't be the defenseman. It's got to be like the forward group. Like the bottom 6 is hurting them that bad, or something. Like maybe their top 6 is just so weak, because the defense is not the problem. Like you got Rasmus Anderson, he's a good defender. You got
Hannafin.
Mackenzie Weegar, he's a good defender. Then you've got Chris Tanev, he's a good defender. You had Nikita Zadorov, he's a good defender, right? We're all talking about guys that we like on the Leafs. Like these are all good players. Like Noah Hannafin.
But you can't solve this with your forwards just scoring more. Like I know they have low points, but that can't be your team's answer to. Is just we'll score more than the other team. Is like I don't know. Maybe it does fall back on the goalie, but it's got to be. I think it's a shared spread responsibility between them all. That's just one piece drops another off, and another drops another, and
I think the forwards have a lot to do with defense, though. So if your forwards aren't good in their own zone, like that's going to reflect on pucks in net. And even though you have great defenders, they can only defend from so far down, right? And then the rest is on the forward. So hard to say.
And I think like maybe their forward group, like it's not that their bottom 6 is bad. Their bottom 6 is passable if they had a superstar for a top 6, but they don't. I think their top 6 is just so mid.
Everything's mid around there.
Yeah, they really need 3 good players in their forward group, and then that team will be good. But like right now, it's just not. Huberdeau is supposed to be that guy. Naz, as far as like everybody else, isn't good either, and he's got no team around him. He's pulling his weight for being the highest scorer, right? Like he's still scoring.
Sure.
So
I think everyone knows what Kadri is, and I think he keeps performing year after year. Right, but no one ever thought that he was a guy that's going to lead a team, right? He's an amazing second line, third line center. That would be just amazing. But you plug him in as a second line center, but he can't be the reason the team is winning, right?
Yeah,
great addition to a good team.
Yeah, exactly. He's a great addition to a good team. That's exactly it. And Huberdeau, I think, was supposed to be part of that good team. And I think Mangiapane was supposed to be showing that he was going to come up and blow up, and he's just really cooled off. Lindholm, again, as soon as he lost Gaudreau and Tkachuk, we all expected, Lindholm's good because he played well. Maybe he's not as good as we thought. Maybe he was being carried a little bit.
I think this is telling us that Tkachuk was the stick that stirred the drink here, because Gaudreau's been awful since he left. I mean, I know he's on a bad team. That was his own choice, but Tkachuk, I think, is one of the more underrated players in the league on how he affects the rest of his team. Not like everyone knows that he gets 100 points. He's a scrapper, and everyone respects that. But he gets more out of his team. I think like that's what this is telling me.
Yeah, Kachuk's a hell of a player, and they're gonna be able to face them and see the Florida Panthers. So it's gonna be fun to see that happen. I wonder. Obviously there's a narrative, but you got to wonder if Matt Tkachuk cares at all. Like, does he care? Does he somewhere in there want to beat his old team, like more than other teams? I know you want to win every night, but like, I don't know, you
Always.
have a little bit extra in this. I think your old team, you have a little bit extra. So moving along, Oilers 8-2-0 in their last 10. Stuart Skinner's last 10. This is the crazy part.
Yeah.
2 5-goal nights. 2 4-goal nights. 2 1-goal nights. And there's a shutout in there. And then there's 3 other nights where like 3 goals, 2 goals. So he blows the game. Like 4, 4 isn't bad. 5's terrible. And he's got 2 of those games, and they're 8-2-0. Like, this team, talk about scoring your way out of problems. Do you trust the Oilers to outscore their goaltending inefficiencies?
That's a team that can kind of do it and has been proving it in the last 10 at least for sure. But yeah, that consistency does not go far, and it doesn't get you far in the playoffs. Because, yeah, you can't expect that every single night. You can, out of 82 games, yeah, they can do it a bunch of times and do well for this team. But, yeah, when you got to string together 4 wins before another team gets 4 wins in the playoffs, that can be tough.
Yeah, I think this is a young goalie who is showing that he has the ability to be good on some nights, but just hasn't found consistency. And Edmonton's going to get a goalie. I think it's inevitable that they're in the goalie market. They're going to find a way to maybe move Jack Campbell out. And although he's been pulled from AHL games, that guy's been like, that's an anchor. I'm not sure how they're going to deal with, but they have to be able to. They need a goalie. They got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know. Like, they're winning though. That's the thing. 8-2-0 in their last 10. They're climbing back up in the standings. Like, potentially going to catch up in there and get a playoff spot at this point. Like, honestly, McDavid's going to will this team himself. Maybe. Like, I don't know. He really is the man. Honestly, like, and Zach Hyman. Like, honestly, Hart Trophy candidate Zach Hyman has just been insane this year. Like,
Yeah.
Honestly, at some points, like, he was so good. He was on a 55 goal pace or something like that. It's like, the guy's just going nuts this year.
Yeah, on a sweetheart contract too. Like, that guy is just, for what the Leafs weren't willing to give that guy, it's just it's unforgivable.
Would you rather have Tyler Bertuzzi or Zach Hyman?
Oh man, that's disgusting to think about. Do you want me to answer? Oh, Zach Hyman.
Yeah, you don't have to answer.
No, rhetorical
It was
question.
rhetorical. Yeah. Funny. Anyways, so Zadorov the other night in Vancouver, he got a game misconduct for going after Johnson after Johnson laid a clean hit on Pettersson. Zadorov goes in and tries to fight him. Johnson doesn't want to really fight back. He gets a game misconduct for that. Do you agree with that penalty, or do you disagree with that penalty that he should get a game misconduct for going in to fight a guy after a clean hit?
I mean, isn't that just like an instigator penalty? Like, even if they don't fight, you just get the instigator. So
Or roughing.
yeah, a roughing penalty.
Well, why is he fighting in the first place?
What? Because
Like, so bear with
It's a
me
clean
here.
hit. I don't know. I didn't see
Yeah,
either.
why are you going? No, if it's a clean hit and the refs aren't calling a penalty on the hit and it's a fine hit, then why are we fighting after these hits?
No, fair.
I don't know.
I agree with that.
That's my point. So, do you
Well, why
think
the
it's a good
misconduct?
idea to deter it by giving a game misconduct to any idiot who wants to go in and throw down just because his teammate couldn't keep his head up?
Are we going to see a lot of these? Is that what you're thinking?
hope
That
so.
this is just like the norm now, and it just we're shocked by it because it's the first one. But Can we get a press release from the NHL, please, that this is a rule change? Because
Actually, you know what? It probably will never happen again because that's how inconsistent the NHL is and the refs. But
Fair.
I think it should. I loved it. Like I as soon as I read it, I'm like, hey, good. Like I'm so sick of he lays a good hit and now he's got to fight. Now he's gone
Now,
for 5 minutes.
Would
Like-
this fall into like, if game misconducts usually if they happen at a certain point in the game, it's just the rest of the game. Certain are if it's late enough in the game, they're like it's not a suspension, but the game misconduct is essentially the next game. How does that factor in? What would you think if this becomes a norm? What if a guy does it with like 2 minutes left in the game? Not even.
Isn't there already if you fight in the last 5 minutes of the game, then you already have a hearing or something like that?
yeah, I think it's already.
So does it fall? So if he's not fighting, if he just tries to fight and the guy doesn't fight him, and it's based on a clean hit,
This league is so
does that
confusing.
fall in the same thing? I know.
Oh my god.
It's so inconsistent, Dad. I couldn't tell you what to make of it. But I tell you that they got it right this time, and that it definitely should be implemented. That if there's a clean hit given and no, like if somebody goes in for a fight for no reason, right? Well,
Right.
I don't really without like I don't know. I guess that's hard. Who
Yeah.
makes that call? Who
Yeah.
decides, like, that was a good reason for him to go in there and punch him in the head? Like, I don't know, man. It's hard to make that call. I just think that it's really dumb to watch players. Like, we like hitting in hockey. We don't want to
Yep.
see hitting gone, right? Right?
Right.
But
No.
fighting is going out of the game, and the only way fighting's sticking around is because of this is because of these hitting, right? And, I mean, I think I'd rather see it go down later if somebody's really upset still and two guys want to go at it. But not immediately after. I think the play should be allowed to go on because those momentum swings in the game can really help a team. Somebody lays a big hit, the team gets the puck back, and now all of a sudden they're fighting, but then the team had a good break going down the ice. They might have scored a goal. So
True.
it's hard to, like, how dumb is that to see these happening? And why is a guy coming in there and going confetti gloves just because his teammate didn't have his head up? That's where I don't agree with it.
I think you're right in the sense that it's probably a good way to go because I guess we don't know what players see things differently on the ice from their angle and whatever. Like we saw that thing the other night with Perron cross-checking Zub, who wasn't even the guy who did it. He just turned around and saw him kind of falling on the player, so he thought it was him. But yeah, then maybe he saw something else that it looked dirty, or maybe he saw there was something earlier in the play he was calling him on for, and he said, and then the hit was just the last straw, even though it was clean. I don't know. Who knows, right? Either way, I think you're right.
The one thing too, I want to go back to like if they should do this more, and I agree that they should because I'm okay with there being less fighting in hockey as long as the trade-off is more hits. And so like if you're getting more penalized for fighting, then maybe this like will make the other team go and try and hit that guy, versus just going and trying to fight him. And I would like that, I get way more hyped up about a big hit than I do from guys fighting. Although I like both.
Yeah,
I know.
I do enjoy a good fight too, but like a lot
Has
of
to be
them aren't
warranted.
good fights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want a play to be broken up because of it. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I like, the whole state, you're staged, do you want to fight out the face? Yeah. You go there, I hate you. Do you want to fight? Like right
Yeah.
now. Like nothing's going
Right
on
now.
at center ice
Right.
or wherever
Yeah.
we are.
Exactly.
At a face
Let's
off,
sort
do you
it
want to
before
fight?
a
I'm going
play,
to pound
yeah.
your face in. Like, that's
Yeah.
fine. Go ahead and do it like that. Don't do it right after a big fight to break up the momentum. It's like a goalie throwing the net off. And I think that there should just be a penalty for it eventually. But I think to deter people right now, there should be bigger penalties, bigger discipline. So, the Jets, they're 6-4-2 in the last 10, second place in the Central. But Kyle Connor took a knee. I think it was from Strome last week, and he's out hurt 6 to 8 weeks. He's the second on the team in scoring, 28 points in 26 games. The only other people they really have are Mark Scheifele, who got that big contract. He's got 33 points in 29 games. That's great. Josh Morrissey, who's got 26 points in 29 games. For a defenseman, that's awesome. And then it drops off. You have Nikolai Ehlers, who's got 22 at 29. Cole Perfetti, who's got 19 and 29. Niederreiter, who's got 17 and 29. And it just goes down from there. The Jets' run, is it over? Do you think they're going to fall down a little bit here? I mean, that Central is weak, but there are teams that will scratch and claw back. I mean, Nashville's not terrible. Minnesota's going to come back like they always do. What do you think's going on in Jets land? Do you think they should be worried about this?
I don't know. They got Gabe Velarde on the top line right now. He's come back recently from I don't know if we're
It's true. He's got 9 and 11, so that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
He was
I
out for a
picked him
while.
up, streamed him in the in our fantasy league, and he got a goal tonight.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
bad.
they've had a really, I think, underrated start because like just no one ever talks about Winnipeg. Everyone tries to avoid it like the plague, but big
the Winnipeg.
Yeah. I want the one thing that jumps out on me is the goal totals because Kyle Connor has 17 goals, and the next closest I see is 11 from Mark Scheifele, which is a bit of a drop down. So maybe this is where Velarde coming back will help them out, and he can pop some in, and Nikolai Ehlers can keep going as well. But he's definitely their best goal scorer. The power play is going to hurt. It's a big loss for them. So I doubt that they'll be on the form that they have been, but luckily they've had a good start. 6 to 8 weeks, though, that's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
It's a lot of games. Did you guys hear about the Winnipeg Jets? They made NHL history by performing Canada's national anthem in both Punjabi and English. Did you guys hear
Well,
about
that's
this?
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Man,
There was
nice.
quite the response online to that, huh?
I don't know.
Some of the viral things that I saw were very negative.
Why?
What are your thoughts on that? Very
Why?
cool? Because I thought that was
I think
awesome.
it's cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
I couldn't
I
understand
liked
the
when
word,
they
and I
started
hope they
doing.
were saying the right things, but it sounded great.
All right.
Yeah,
There's like half
No,
a million
that's
people
cool.
in Canada that speak Punjabi. So like,
yeah, they do Hockey Night in Canada.
yeah,
Punjab.
they have their own program. Like, I feel like it's totally called for, and they should do it more often. It was part of like a special night too for Eastern Asian or South Asian. I should know that, but East Asian, I think. But yeah,
South Asian. Yes.
it's they've been like it was for a night. I think that it was totally called for. Why the negativity seems like that's uncalled for, but it's the internet, so.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was pretty awesome to hear. Like I said, I don't know what they were saying, and I couldn't understand the words. But like,
Of course.
it's like
Yeah.
listening to AC/DC. I don't understand what he says either. It just sounds great.
Well, it's all about the guitar
had-
and that.
I had no complaints. Yeah, they were great. They were
Yeah,
awesome.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, good. Positive thoughts. That's good.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
glad
for
we all
sure.
think about that. So the Habs, they're 13-13-4 on the season. Definition of mid. 4-4-2 in their last 10. Definition of mid. They're going nowhere fast. Josh Anderson makes $5.5 million, and he's got 3 goals and 4 assists in 30 games played.
That's brutal.
Yeah, that's awful. It's maybe the most overpaid player in the league. Him and Johnny Hockey are probably fighting for that. Johnny Gaudreau. Who's the most overpaid based on your skill set?
Josh Anderson signed that big contract, and everybody expected him to be really, really good for the Habs.
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
supposed to be a mentor and a leader on that team. And he's really, I don't know whether he must be leading with his words because it's certainly
Maybe he
not
is.
with his play.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not leading by example on the ice.
No.
I don't know. He's definitely had some bad luck for sure. His coach has talked about that. But he's not been good. I mean, the whole rest of the team hasn't been great either. But like, he's not been good. And at $5.5 million, you gotta. How do you even trade him? You're not going to trade him. You're just going to keep him, right? Like,
Unless you want to retain, because he's a big body.
That's what
like,
I'm saying.
Someone will be willing to probably pay him 2.5 or like the
that's a lot of money
2.75.
retained.
Yeah, I think that it, but where's Montreal going? Like, I look at this roster and it's just, you got, like, this is a 2-player team, like, you look at the top 2 guys and I see stars there. And then after that, it's like all these guys are going to fall off soon. Like Matheson and Monahan have been playing good, but they're not entering their best years. Monahan's had a resurgence, but I don't imagine that it's going to last forever. Slafkovsky, I expect to be like a good player, eventually.
Good third liner or something.
Yeah, but like we're not there yet. Like it's tough. Like I hate being a Leafs fan, just dumping on Habs, but maybe it's just in my identity. But they're in trouble. I think like this isn't something that's turning around. I think anytime soon, and I think maybe their record is over. Like they've been overperforming. I think they might even play worse throughout the end of the season.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. I do follow quite a bit of the Habs games as family members and friends are Habs fans, and it's just always fun to chat when there's nothing else on.
Yeah.
So I will be watching these Habs games. I mean, you can see Caulfield's a stud, but Suzuki has been, Suzuki's been their best player, and he's only got 25 points, and he's been mid. They're mid. Like, Caulfield's great, and he's only got 21 points, 8 goals, 13 assists. Like, it's like Caulfield should have, in 30 games, he should have 15 goals.
Right.
Like,
yeah, for a goal scorer like him. Yeah.
for a goal scorer like him, for what he's supposed to be, he should have 15 goals. And, like, that would change the team. So, like, what are they doing? Something's going wrong there, and, like, I don't know. Marty St. Louis, he's a big name, but I wonder if he's going to end up being in the hot seat here eventually, too. He's going into his second year, it'll be third year this year, next year. Like, he's coming along, so we'll see how much leash he's got there. Anyways, so that is all I've got for North of the Blue Line. I got a little bit of Avs news. You guys want to get into that?
Yeah.
So, producer Ted,
Yeah.
McKinnon for Hart. McKinnon's on a 15-game point streak, 8 goals and 19 assists during that 15-game point streak. Second in the league behind Kucherov, and he's only 3 points for first in the league.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? You think Art Ross, maybe? Like, you think Connor's going to catch up? I don't know, man. Like, McKinnon's on a roll this year.
He really is. I'm not surprised with him being like way up there. He'll finish like top 3, I think, for sure. I think McKinnon or McDavid probably will catch him because McDavid's insane. But McKinnon's insane too. I mean, he's elite. Like, he is something else to watch. He's so fun to watch. He's got that explosiveness back that we were missing for a few games. Yeah, Nate's back. I wish I had him on my fantasy team.
There's only a few players in the league that like have the it factor like he does, and when he carries the puck through the middle of the ice, like it's hard to compare that to anyone, even McDavid. They each have their own skill set, but yeah, he's I think been for a few years now regarded as the second best center in the league.
Yeah, that's what I would say for sure. I know there'd be some argument.
For sure.
Well, the
There's
Avs
a lot
are
of
winning.
arguments,
They're not a bad team, right? Like, they're doing very well. And Nathan McKinnon is 32 points ahead of the 4th best forward on the team.
Woo.
So McKinnon has 47, Rantanen has 39, Nichushkin has 27, and then Colton has 15.
Wow.
Unreal.
That's a
32
drop
points
off.
ahead.
That top line is firing, yeah, and especially Nate. Love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, we want to talk about people who don't have a team around them, but, like, look at this guy. When you're that good,
Yeah.
the rest of your team doesn't need to score every night. They just need
That's
to be
right.
good. They just need to be good at checking and staying in the game.
McKinnon plus defense equals good team.
That's it. McKinnon plus defense equals good team. That's great. Yeah. So what they didn't think equaled a good team in Denver was Thomas Tatar. So he was traded to the Kraken for a 5th-round pick. And after the Tatar move, people around the league are paranoid of what the Avalanche are going to do. According to one NHL insider, some suspect they're after a big target. Report. Some suspect Avalanche are targeting Lindholm in a trade. This is from Evan Rewall, so this is legit. He's not just out there as a fan. He's hearing words that they're targeting Lindholm.
Yeah.
And here's a tweet from a guy named Mike Gould. I don't know if he's a fan or a reporter. I should have looked into that. I just swiped his tweet. Mike T. Gould on Twitter. He says, I get Tatar was disappointing in Colorado, but it sure doesn't feel like a coincidence that the Avs now have $4.8 million in cap space, while Elias Lindholm, who costs $4.8 million, is on the trade market.
Oh my God.
$4.8 million. Yeah. No, honestly. Yeah, things are looking good, and
This isn't
in
fair.
that way. And yeah, Tatar, yeah, we had to get him out of here. I don't know. I haven't really eaten squid, but I'd put Tatar sauce on there too. So I think he fits with the Kraken.
Tatar sauce on the squid.
Oh,
Yes,
so
that's
good.
amazing.
Yes. So yeah, I think he didn't fit with the Avs anyways. It was fine. Yeah, Lindholm though, as we were saying, maybe he needs some really talented players around him to do well, kind of thing. You know, put him on a line where he gets like a lot of backing and a lot of help, and those numbers start to go up. I think he could find that in Colorado.
This reminds me a lot of when the Avalanche added Kadri, and it seemed unfair. And if they add Lindholm, that seems unfair to me. Like,
Yeah, because now Ryan Johansson's your third line center.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
I
full
know.
time. Oof. So now, yeah, then all of a sudden they just became super deep. But yeah, that would be certainly interesting to see. It's very peculiar that they have the exact amount of cap space to make this work. So now you just got to wonder who goes out the door for an Elias Lindholm. What does Calgary want? Do they want picks? Do they want prospects? Do they want guys who are going to play now? Or are they going to want a player back? Yeah, somebody like Bowen Byram, you think? Yeah, I was thinking probably somebody they're going to want now. I was thinking probably a package of a player who plays now, picks, and maybe a prospect. So like maybe somebody like Malinsky, Logan O'Connor, and some picks. Like first round, second round picks, right?
Yep.
And you're only getting them for a year, right?
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
So that's why you're paying. That's why if it was a sign and trade, then the price maybe go up. But I think Malinsky's not bad. Malinsky's been a great prospect, right?
Yes.
So you put him on there. He's a great D prospect. And then you take Logan O'Connor. He can play now. He can play in your bottom six now. He's a legit player.
Yeah.
And then you get a first round pick out of it, right? Maybe a first and a second, which could really help a team like Calgary going forward if they have any thoughts of drafting and building a team that way. Even if they don't, consider this. Those picks are still valuable to other people in the league. They could trade them for other players. So at the end of the day, I think that's probably somewhere in the package that Colorado would offer right now at this point. Depends on who wants Elias Lindholm when it comes down to time. Are they going to snipe him early, or is it going to come down to March before this all comes to fruition? And then there's lots of suitors for him. We'll see. Because, again, he's only $4.8 million.
Yeah, and I think, too, by that time, if we figure it out, we wait a little bit, we're going to have Lehkonen back in the lineup, too. When he's back from his neck injury, he'll be on the second line. I think Val has earned and taken that spot. Originally, I thought Lehkonen would come right back on the top line, but I don't know if him and Rantanen will get along. No, because of his dad. But kidding. But I think Val earned that spot, and Lehkonen's going to be on the second line. And then if things ever do drop off with Val or whatever, chemistry, whatever, Lehkonen's the guy you slot in. But yeah, Val's got that spot right now.
So I have to ask, with everything we just went through, the Avs are 5th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised with how great that they are when you go back and look at the stats for all the players behind that top line? Does it really surprise you that they're as good as they are with the rest of... I know you're a very positive guy about this team, but, let's be honest, beyond that top line, it's tough, right? It's not exactly what we expected. We certainly expected more. The names there we thought had lots of potential, and they just really haven't lived up to that. Does it surprise you that the top line and the obviously great defense is carrying it? Or no, you just kind of, that's how the Avs always are?
I mean, that's how they are. I mean, we do have that core group that does lead things. But the guys who are even kind of on the fringe of that, and I mean, there's obviously outliers who definitely aren't within that core. But even guys like Devon Taves, who are like, he's the guy that runs the top power play when Kale's out. He's the guy who plays with Kale on the top line on 5-on-5. So why isn't he doing well? He's not. He's not.
He is. He's fifth on the team in points.
It's all right, but how far down though?
Yeah,
it's quite. Yeah. He's below that big drop off.
He's a defenseman, right?
I know.
So, I mean, but you got to wonder why Colton at 15, Johansson at 12, Drouin at 12. Like Drouin's a flyer. Why has he got 12? And Miles Wood has 11. Like
I know it's been slow starts for these guys.
Very slow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's nice to see them chip in when they do. We do have to see more of it if they want to go all the way, because it's that same thing I said about relying on a goalie that's inconsistent. Not that the Avs top line is inconsistent, but with the rest of the team below that kind of not pulling their weight night to night, that's what you're going to need in the playoffs is all those guys. That's what we saw when they won it, was these guys on the fourth and third line chipping in and making plays when McKinnon was sitting on the bench catching his breath.
And I think a lot of that is when you see these guys, the second tier of guys coming in and not playing it well every night. The top line can't go every single night. Sometimes the top line just gets canceled out even when they are going.
Yeah.
And so then that's why you see these big loss games that you have this season for the Avs, because some of those times they just the rest of the team just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
I think they also just like have the perfect group of guys to build the best third line in the league, but just don't quite have that second line depth. I see a lot of guys that can make like a perfect third line. But like to tie it back into the Lindholm thing, you add someone like that to this group and they go from like being carried by a top line to now this might be the best team in the league. So I think
a good point.
They're like, this is a team that's just had such good bones that I think it's easier to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, if they can. And they've had a lot too. I will say there has been a lot of, not necessarily like injuries, but even the line shifting and trying out different guys in the bottom six and figuring things out. And it's hard to obviously string together points when you're not playing on the same line and it's different guys in and out all the time. But it's not an excuse. But yeah, they are not playing up to the level as that top line. And yeah, if we can flesh it out a bit and see that spread out through the rest of the team, that would be nice.
Yep. So that's awesome. So we will see if the Avs are going to make a move here on Elias Lindholm. We'll keep watching. They're probably going to keep winning anyways. So it's probably a pretty sexy destination for Lindholm to want to go anyways. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
That's it. That's all we got for this episode of Split the Defense. I'm Jordan Webster with Craig Pearce and Ted Evans, our producer. And we will be back for the Leafs game Tuesday night. Is that right? Tomorrow night? Tonight, probably, if you're listening in the morning. We will be doing a post game. We do a post game every Leafs game. So remember to like, subscribe, follow us on everything, and we will remind you that we are back all the time. You can listen to this again. Thanks for listening. We're broadcasting from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. Peace.
Peace.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense,
a Toronto Maple Leafs, Colorado Avalanche, and NHL podcast. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the Defense
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.